You're listening to the Custom Built Podcast. In today's episode, we're going to talk about making hard choices to make your life better. So stay tuned. Choices aren't just when you're in the middle of a home renovation and you have to make all these selections. We make choices every day, 100 times a day, probably more. And when we need to make some hard choices in our life, it's a time that we tend to listen to our brains over listening to what our body is saying to us. So for example, last year I quit my very well-paying job to go all in on myself and for my business. And in that chatter in my head, it was a lot of guilt. And what are you doing? You're going from, two full incomes to now one, you're putting a risk, right? It seems very selfish. And I can't tell you how amazing it's been with me making these hard decisions. And I've had to make other hard decisions since then. And with each hard decision where I listen to the nudge in my chest that's telling me this isn't right for me anymore, that this is no longer working for me, that I have found, one, it's not only just empowering, it opened up my eyes more to a lot of decisions and choices that I made throughout my life where I maybe could have made different ones, but the choices I made led me to this point, and it was all part of my journey. So I can never regret those past decisions or lack of decision making. I think I have a whole episode about the passive passenger and how living a life without intention and just kind of flowing through life and doing what you're told to do and expected of you without really thinking about who you are, what you want, and where you want to go. And when you get to this point and you switch this gear of wait, no, I'm paying attention now. And I know that this is either good for me or this isn't working for me. And you start making those choices. That's the time I'm talking about, because they're big and they're scary and your head is going to talk you out of it. Your ego is going to try to tell you no and all the reasons why it's not going to work. At least majority of us, right? We are prone to automatically go to the negative. What if this doesn't work? What if I'm not cut out for this, right? So, you have to train yourself, most of us. I'm not saying this is true for everybody. Some people are just super optimistic all the time and, they come with this as, what if it's better than I expected to? And, I wish that was something that it was my first thought. And as I work through my stuff and healing, that is something I am working towards, is just that more positive outlook without having that first instant thought of, what if this isn't right for me? What if this was the wrong choice? And so when you're making these choices of big life changes, it doesn't always have to be a big life change, but when you start listening to what your heart is telling you, your gut, your whatever, and you follow through on it, there is a sense of empowerment and you're just whoa, look what I just did. Okay, now what are my options? I can either go back on my knees and beg for, my job back, or I'm going to go all in and I'm going to make this happen and it's going to be what it's going to be. And so for me, I didn't go back. Things changed and I found different avenues, and that's something that wouldn't have been available for me if I had stayed in that job. What wouldn't have been available for me is to meet my current, I wouldn't necessarily say business partner, but someone that I am working very closely within business and building some really cool things that I'm so excited about, and I can't wait to share it more with all of you. But this opportunity never would have presented itself if I hadn't made those choices that got me to where I was when I was looking for this. And this person wouldn't have come into my life because, or maybe they would have, but maybe it wouldn't have been now. Maybe it would have been years from now, or maybe I would have lost that moment of where we were both in alignment and looking for something that we each were able to bring to the table. And why is this even important? Well, for starters, this is the Custom Built podcast where I talk about, building your home, but also about building your life. And I have been heavy on the construction talk, and this is relevant too, though, for your construction. I mean, if you're working with somebody and you're finding that this job, the work that they're doing isn't all it's cracked out to be, they're not doing the work that they promised, and you stay with them, then what's going to be the end result? You're going to be probably upset about it. There's going to be some contention probably between the two of you. But if you were to stop and say, this isn't working anymore, and then what you end up doing is now opening a door for the next builder to come in who might be the best fit for you, and then even do it better because they're bringing something to you that you didn't even think about. Okay. And so I feel this is an important conversation, probably because I've been having these types of conversation and breakthroughs and just like sharing a lot about my journey lately and with new people. But again, these are people that are coming into my life and it feels so abundant. But these are people that, some of them are people that I've known for a while, but our relationship was never more than, just a few hellos or like maybe a couple of good conversations, but like they have evolved so much where these are people that I look forward to spending time with. These are people that I'm excited to have conversations with because they make me think more. I have more compassion from hearing their experiences. I have more compassion from my experiences and what I have worked through and developed. And I really don't think these doors would have evolved, or in these relationships wouldn't have evolved into what they are now had I not made some of these choices that I've had to make. That felt really selfish. I felt a lot of guilt around. And I had to basically clear out those voices because the alternative was like this suffocating feeling. And I mean, it felt like if I were to stay in some of those choices that I had made to continue, if I had made the choice to continue down those paths in my life, that I would have suffocated, that I would not be able to reach my full potential, to be the person that I have been working really hard to be and to grow. I think I would have stifled myself. I think I stunted is like the best way to put it. Like there wouldn't have been the kind of growth that I value. And so in a way, yeah, I probably would have suffocated and died internally. My dharma wouldn't I wouldn't be in my dharma. I wouldn't be living my purpose and what I'm supposed to be doing. And from all this experience, it's led me to where I am now. Again, it's not just open these doors to new conversations, to new people, to these connections that I'm making, to the friends that those friendships that I'm building, but it's also helping me hone in on how I show up for you as my audience, for the listeners that are here, for anyone that might be looking for help and guidance in their home renovations. And if you've been following me for any amount of time, I think it's very obvious that it's already evolved so much. And just for like what I've noticed, it was kind of, I knew where I wanted to be. I knew what I wanted to help with, who I wanted to help, but how that looked was always a little blurry for me. I didn't know what that was going to look like, what that was going to mean. And so some of the messaging, I think, was a little confusing. It was kind of focused on design. It was focused on like home projects. And that's missing the message of let me help you get ready for your renovation, because that, I think, is an area that is really lacking and a spot that is, to me, I think, empowering to help homeowners who've never experienced a home renovation, or even if you have, maybe shed a light on the building side. But what I struggled with it was the part where I also have this passion of design and function and making your space yours. And those are all things that I do fully believe in and trust. But how do you bring this all together and like have one big cohesive message? And I struggled with that. But again, as I made these choices, as I've made these connections, as I've been having these conversations, I'm sharpening and honing in more on how that looks, and I'm getting more clarity. And so when things got murky in my head and I got quiet and I made these choices, I got clarity. I saw the path clearer, and I was able to take one step at a time and just keep going. And I still have so much more to go that I'm excited, but I'm excited because this actually feels aligned. And so when you're making those choices, or if you're ignoring those nudges, what's your alternative? Are you going to follow and trust your instincts and what your body is telling you, or are you going to allow your head and the logic and the, in a way, emotional and societal pressure tell you what you're going to do? And are you going to be living true to you if you allow that emotional, egotistical mind chatter tell you what to do? Are you going to allow those outside forces to really dictate how you live in your life? So when it comes down to it, whose life are you living? Are you living for you, or are you living for other people, right? I mean, of course, we have people in our lives that maybe we're responsible for. I have 2 little kids that, I have to care for and pay attention, and not pay attention, but to, help them get emotionally regulated, but pay attention to their cues to when they're having their moments. And sometimes we have people in our lives, like our children and other people that we're responsible for. So, there's this sense of responsibility to do things a certain way. But what if doing things a certain way that's against what you're feeling, what you know is right for you, is actually going to dim you, and in return be an example for those people in your lives that shows that your worth isn't as important as those around you. And let me say this, because I think that could come across as like I'm more important than everybody else around me. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is when you show up for yourself and you recognize and you follow what is right for you, you become the light. You become available for others. You become a beacon to show others how it's okay to do that for themselves. And so what you're doing is it's inspiring. You're allowing you're almost like giving people permission to live to their full potential. Because what you're doing when you choose to not follow those nudges, those I'm trying to find the word intuitive, and when you're listening, when you're not listening to your intuitive nudges, then you're going against them. And when you're going against them, you are dimming yourself. And when you dim yourself, you're no longer able to provide for others because you are not yourself. You are not living your purpose. You are not showing up for yourself, and in return showing up for others. And I mean, how powerful is it when you see somebody come into a room and you can feel their energy. You can see that they're just like, I'm here, this is who I am. And they're glowing and radiating. And you're like, I want to be around them. I want what they have. I want that energy all around me, and I want to be a part of it. That's what happens when you live to you and you follow those intuitions for you. You become that beacon. You let other people want to gravitate to you and find out what it is that you're doing. And when they get to know you and they hear your stories and they hear the choices that you make, and they're like, oh, it becomes insightful. And then you help them discover their ways, or maybe you have similar paths and they're like, yeah, I've done that too. And maybe it's just really connecting and just knowing that you're not alone, because truly there's so many of us that are feeling similar things, and maybe our experience are different, but sometimes it's the same type of messaging that we've received or something along the lines of that. Like, for example, I was having a conversation today about being able to be emotional and just show your emotions. And, they said how they felt bad or guilty because they were crying a little bit because they were told as a child to like clean their face and stop crying. And for me, it was, either I was too sensitive, or my feelings, I was overreacting, or, my feelings weren't as big as somebody else's. And, that also taught me that I cannot be safe in my emotions around people. So, different experiences, but the same type of work that we need to do, and just allowing ourselves to tap into that emotional space and understand that it wasn't about us at all. It was never about our emotions. It was others and their uncomfortability. So even think about that. So as you heal yourself, as you become more grounded and you make yourself available to like knowing that other people will have their emotions and that they're theirs and they're not yours, and you are able to show somebody that it's okay to be vulnerable, that it's okay to have feelings. You become a safe space, and that comes from doing those inner workings, and those not the inner workings, but you do that work to yourself, and you heal, and you do that even when you think you might get shunned from other people, or other people might not understand why you're doing this or why you're setting up more boundaries and separating yourself from them. It seems selfish. You might get called selfish, but ultimately it is the most selfless thing that you could do. And if you want to be of service for others, the best way you can do that is to allow your light to shine bright. Be a beacon. Be a beacon for the people in your life. Be a beacon for the new people that you're going to meet. Be a beacon for your children, to let them know that it's okay to choose you first, so you can serve others in the most purest of ways. When I say serve people, it literally can just be saying something kind to them, giving them a smile, maybe holding the door open for them. I'm not even talking about like anything big and crazy of being of service, but you being full of your light is just sharing that energy with others, and that could really change the tide of someone's day. And if you think about it on just that very level on its own, how beautiful is that? So I hope you found this to be insightful. I hope this gave you maybe permission, if you were looking for some validation on, following your heart, your truth, and making hard decisions, even when they feel like they are selfish and you feel guilty around it. And maybe if you are feeling those things, maybe sit with that for a while, get a little quiet, and maybe journal about what comes up when you think about those things. Like, where did you hear that first? Where was a time that you felt like you were being selfish? When did somebody tell you that? So think on that for a little bit. If you found this to be helpful and you enjoyed this episode, please share this with somebody that you think this could help as well. And again, if you like, please subscribe, and I'll catch you next time. Have a beautiful, wonderful week. Bye-bye. Thank you for hanging out today. If you liked what you heard, please make sure you hit subscribe, and I hope to see you again next week. Have a good one. Bye-bye.